Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Augusta, Georgia. Today's verse is 1 John 4:5. They are from the world, therefore they speak as from the world, and the world listens to them. So again, we are looking at false teachers, false doctrines, the spirit of the Antichrist that is trying to get us off of the true path of love of Christ, loving more than our flesh. And these are the ones who are speaking is from the world, and the world listens to them, which means they may gather a large following. And we might be tempted to say, wow, they're a mega church. That must mean they've got it all together. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. We have to see if they've got the correct doctrine and if they're being led by the fruits of the Spirit, especially with love. So how do we check their doctrine? It's difficult, especially if we are a young Christian, because they can twist the doctrines just a little bit, twist scripture, and get us just a little bit off the path, and that's sometimes all it takes. So I covered a scripture a couple of months ago, and I have the link up here, and let's see if I can pull this up. It's 1 John 2:16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the boastful pride of life, is not from the Father, but is from the world. What's from the Father is the life of love that denies the flesh. So let's look at this. I'll start with the boastful pride of life. If there's a church that preaches mostly about rule keeping, then someone can keep the rules like the Pharisees and conclude, gee, I deserve to go to heaven because I kept all the rules. They may not say it with those words, but that's the real conclusion. That's false doctrine. Or they may say, I have enough faith, and so I deserve this or that because I have enough faith. Any doctrine that says I deserve, it might be because I'm a child of the king, and a child of the king deserves A, B, and C. That's false doctrine. And the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, is a lot of the prosperity movement comes after that. If it's all about health, wealth, prosperity, and a chocolate sundae every day, and the devil's going to pay for it, that is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes. Certainly the disciples didn't live a life like that. They had what the world would consider a pretty tough and poor life. And most of them were executed at the end of their lives. But from a heavenly standpoint, they really shone. Now, Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, gave a good half dozen examples of, here's what the world says. That sounds very religious, but here's what I say. So let's have a look at some of these. Starting in Matthew 5:21, you have heard that the ancients were told you shall not commit murder. And then Jesus says, but I say if you're angry with your brother, you've committed murder. So he turns it really on its ear. Jumping down to verse 27, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, but I say if you look after a woman with lust in your eyes, you've committed adultery. How about verse 31? It was said, whoever sends his wife away, let him give her a certificate of a divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except for the reason of unchastity, makes her commit adultery. And check this one out. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. I'm going to say that a lot of people that call themselves Christians don't agree with Jesus' words there. Just putting that out there. Verse 33, again you have heard that the ancients were told, you shall not make false vows, but shall fulfill your vows to the Lord. And again, it's a way of earning your salvation. But I say to you, don't even make any vows. Just let your yes be yes and your no be no. Just speak plainly. Or jumping down to 38, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evil person. If he slaps you, turn the other cheek. If he sues you, give him more. Wow, that goes against modern philosophy quite a bit. But then Jesus ends with the creme de la creme. In verse 43, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. It's all about love, not the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life. So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.